Greetings, everyone. This is Payman, the host of the Lead Rock Podcast. Today, I have a very special, not only episode, but a very special guest, a dear friend of mine, Mr. Roger Burnley, coming back. Me and him, we've done quite a few because he's a phenomenal man with an incredible story, path, and mission and vision. And so here today, I've been listening and watching to channeling sessions for, I would say, a good 5-6 years. The one I've been watching the most was with what is his name? Brian Johnson, a Canadian. He channels. He's been channeling since 2008, 2009, and then when I heard that Roger's also doing channeling, I told him, "Listen, when are you coming to do one for us here?" And finally, we are here. He messaged me out of the blue yesterday or the day before. I said, "Oh, wow, perfect. Let's do it." I was about to reach out to you, brother. But anyways, Roger is a man with an incredible voice, is a voice coach, a true leader with heart, among many, many, many other things. I've done a podcast with him about, what was it, a year and a half ago?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and we did another one not long ago, and that's going to go live soon. So anyways, without any further ado, Roger, brother, welcome back to the show. It's always an honor having you.
Thank you so much. It's great being here, and I know it's going to be interesting because none of this was accidental. None of this was accidental.
Everything happens for a reason and at the right time.
Yeah.
So indeed. So tell us more about channeling. How did you, briefly, because I know you've spoken extensively on that in other videos, and for the people that still don't know you, who have been hiding in a rock in a cave somewhere, that don't know who Roger Burnley is, tell us in a nutshell, who are you and how did you get into channeling, and what is channeling?
It's about receiving cosmic information, about receiving cosmic guidance, and it was very weird for me when I first began writing. I first began with automatic writing, which was in 1988, and it kind of shocked me at first when I started doing it, because the only reason I began doing it is because I was going through a really challenging time in my life. I was starting a new business. I was freaked out, didn't know what I was doing. And I happened to read an article about some guy who was doing automatic writing. And it helped him in his business. So I said, okay, let me try that. I had been meditating, but I never thought about this, the actual writing of it. And so it sounded like a good thing because I needed some answers. And I would, for several days, I don't remember how long it took, but I would sit and meditate and wait and see what was going to happen. And then nothing was happening for several days. Then all of a sudden, one day, I heard something, then I started writing, and it literally felt like something was just taking my hand, and
Really? Wow.
and all of this information was coming through. And it was so crazy, and it frightened me. I said, who's speaking to me? And then I heard very clearly, this is another aspect of you, your higher self, whatever you want to say. But if it makes you uncomfortable, you can call us whatever you like. And I said, Wilhelm, never knowing why I was saying that name. But I just started doing it. And then what I started doing, I was asking questions about what was going on in my life, what was happening, how could I handle this problem? And I was receiving answers. But I wasn't going to tell anybody because this was too strange and weird. And then at one point during this process, it came to me, wait a minute, I'm controlling things now. I want to get information that's going to help me. And I can't ask those questions from my current experiences, whatever I'm doing right now. So I started saying, okay, just any advice for today. I started just leaving it open to see what would come through. And over time, I would get more and more information. And so I wasn't going to, again, not tell anybody. And the only reason anyone knows about it now probably is because someone in about 2007 or 8 or something like that, someone came into my office at the time, saw one of my writings, one of my on the desk, picked it up, read it, and said, wow, this really helps me. Who wrote this? I said, oh, well, it came through me. I wasn't, because I saved every one. I didn't know why I was doing that either. I would write them every single day. And I have a cabinet full of these messages that is, because I didn't know why I was saving them, but it just felt like I should do that. And progressing to now, because this is coming up to our world now. In 2020, we all knew something was different. The world was changing, something was happening. And then my messages began to change as well. And it caused me to be a little frightened because of what I was receiving. For a while. Now I'm understanding it. But what I was told is that we would be moving through a restructuring of our world, and
Mm.
everything was going to be different. Nothing was going to look the same. And they started giving me all of this information about what might happen. We're trying to create a better world. So we got to let go of all the old stuff, is basically what was coming up. But in order to do that, you've got to be willing to look at it. But see, you got a lot of humans who don't want to do that and don't want to change. And then your world can't evolve unless more people are willing to change. I said, this makes no sense. Payman, they gave me things like you could have a war and you could break back a leader like a Hitler. You could do all of that. And they said, none of your institutions are going to be the same. Your financial markets are going to change. Women are going to become more important. I go, what? And then I can't even tell you, it was crazy. Then it got weirder. Then they told me in 2012, okay, and that was happening in 2020. I was getting all that information. I knew I needed to make changes in what I was doing in my work. I started creating groups or putting things together, again, not understanding why. Then in 2021, I go out for a walk. And on that walk, I hear, we gave you everything you needed to know in 2012. I go, that makes no sense. I come into my home, I go to my computer, and I was guided to look at a folder in my folders that I had not looked at. It was labeled Wilhelm, but I'm going, why is that sitting there by itself? Because I had all my other writings in a different folder. I open up the folder and the messages were 2012.
Wow.
Then I started making connections. And I didn't know anything about this at the time, but I was in a group or something, and someone said to me, Roger, don't you know that's when the Mayan calendar ended? And people thought the world was going to end. I'd forgotten that, you know. So I went back, I said, oh, December 21st of 2012, people thought the world was going to end. And so I said, well, what did Wilhelm tell me on that day? And so I go back and I look at a message on that day, and it said, wait. I go, what? What does that mean? And I came to understand it later, because the world wasn't ending. You're building something new. That's what was really happening. Others were just a little confused about what was happening. And they said, we gave you everything because we gave you an ascension guide, because you're moving through a planetary ascension. And then they said, we even gave it to you on particular days. And if you find, and then they even said, if you meet somebody and we gave you a message on their birthday, it will resonate for that person. And I said, that makes no sense. And I doubted it. I kept going through it. And then I started trying. I'm going, oh crap, this is working. And I couldn't. And they said, well, humans are very limited in terms of linear time. We think things happen in this way. I said, you have these paths that you're all meant to follow, and they show up at different times, but they've been there forever. And then they started showing me, to give me proof of this Payman. They said, go and look at the message on January 1st of 2012. We said infinite intelligence. We said, that's where we wanted you to start, to understand that you all have it. And you only have to access it. It's in your consciousness. That's how you change anything in your life, in your world, is through your consciousness. So this is an up-leveling of consciousness that you're all moving through right now, if you choose to do that. And I said, that's interesting. And then they said, and then look at what we gave you on December 31st of 2012. And it said, your future, saying that we were creating our future now. And so everything that was coming up was for review. When they told me the United States would lead the way, I couldn't understand that at all, because we were in a mess at that time. Our country was just going crazy. But then I started figuring it out. They said, oh, well, you're all connected to the energies of your universe. When the United States was formed and said that they were going to, create a land for the free and equality for all, they didn't do that. And so then they formed the country under when Pluto changed, and Pluto was this planet that only revolves around only moves every 248 years. So I said, oh, and then we got to 2020. Oh, and I started doing the math. oh, that's what they were talking about. So, and then when you look up the elements of what a Pluto return is, it's about a reconciliation. It's about looking at things that you didn't uncover, that you didn't do, that you claimed you were going to do, and then making an adjustment. And they kept giving me this word restructuring. You're moving through a restructuring because your world's been off balance, is what it said, for so long. And so it's up to you guys now who are on the planet at this time to change that. And you can only change that when you decide to love yourselves.
Wow, beautiful.
That's pretty much what happened.
You know, love is the answer. I keep hearing it. It's not just a cheesy line. It's actually,
Yes.
love is the most powerful force in the universe, the driving force.
Yes.
And another massive person that I've been following for a long time, it says he's been channeling, extraterrestrials. Roger, no, not sorry. He's been in contact with Andromedans, and he's saying one thing: the love that you withhold is the pain that you carry lifetime after lifetime. That's the one thing that we'll never forget. What's his
Oh,
name?
that's a good one. That's great. That's good.
Roger Collier or something Collier has been around since the mid-90s. He's a contactee with Andromedans, the people from Andromeda galaxy. And some people might think it's crazy, but I believe in that because I know that we're not alone. And there's evidence around everywhere. And this guy has been talking about it in very detailed since the mid-90s. But before about that, I want to ask you something. Before you even started to get into channeling, did you have were you into writing before that? Did you have any psychic abilities before that? Or was it a specific moment that turned on the switch on you? And when you got that, the first time that made you sit down almost to control of your hand, and not to control, but, started writing through automatic writing, what compelled you to sit down and write? Go back to that moment prior to the very first time and tell us.
I was frightened, quite honestly. I just needed something.
Am I possessed?
No. It wasn't even that. No, I wasn't thinking about that at all. No, all I knew is that I was starting this new business. I had no money. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I needed to do it. I'm starting to vocal coach. That's what I was doing. My coach had told me I needed to start doing that. He advised me to quit my job. I said, this is insane. I can't quit my job. I've got nothing. My brother and sister-in-law gave me a little bit of money to get by, but I have nothing else and I have no business. So I'm going, what am I going to do? So I'm reading a business magazine where I read this article from this guy talking about he was having trouble with his business and he started doing this practice of automatic writing. That's why I did it. It wasn't anything else other than that, except I needed some help. And I went, to get it.
So just like the saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. You are ready for help.
Yes.
You set your intention for help, and that's when the divine intervened and opened your eyes to a higher version of yourself, to what you could really, that you're more than just this body and this physical shape. Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that, because I want anybody who listens to this to understand it. It's a process. I resisted it forever. Everyone does it. We move to different levels of understanding and awareness and consciousness, depending on whatever life path we're using. But sometimes, and especially now, many people are coming to me because they're a little freaked out, because they said, I can feel all the energies, what's happening in the world, what's going on. And so those are the kinds of things, or they are awakening to something that they didn't know they had. There's so many people who are coming to me who are awakening to some sort of spiritual thing that they had put away forever, that they didn't know was there. And so which is very cool. They said, I've always been this business person. I was just this kind of guy. I didn't think about any of this. And all of a sudden, and just today I received an email from someone, and it just pained me, because he says, what's happening? Every day I'm feeling different. I don't know what's going on. And it's really disorienting. I said, okay, let's have a meeting so I can talk to you and help you through this one, because I know what's happening. You're awakening to something within you, because this is what I've gone through. So that's
amazing. So you said something that I resonate with, is that not everybody's ready. I mean, just like, in a race or wherever, everybody's going to get there, but at their own time. There's no need to push someone or try to force them. No, because they will get there when they're ready. Some get there early in
Right.
life, some get later, and some may not even get at all in this lifetime because that's not what they chose to accomplish in this lifetime. So,
Exactly.
like for example, one day I was driving with a friend, and I said, "Look around you on the highway. You have different lanes. Each car is going online, but
Yes.
you know, if they're not converging, because they converge, it's going to be an accident. Same thing with
Right.
people.
Right. Right.
Don't force them. They will get there, just like in school. Some of us, in a class, you have the bright student that everything is easy for them. Those that are a little
Right.
bit slower, and those that are going to take maybe after read of the class, but eventually they will get there. The same thing here.
Let's do Payman. Let's see if I have a birthday message for you. What's your month and day? Just the
Oh,
month
you
and day.
forgot? I
Your
told you before. I'm joking. I'm joking. It's October 17.
April?
October 17.
Oh, October 17th. Let's see if I don't have on, but let's see if I have your. Oh, I do have it. Okay, let's see. October 17th.
Yes, sir.
Decide to continually hold the vision of who you desire to be. As you move through your physical life experience, most times you require some sort of motivation to create or manifest what you desire. The vision of that in all its aspects will help you find that motivation. It is important that you not limit that vision or think that you need to know that you need to know now precisely how it will all occur. The only thing that is truly important for you is your imagination. Your imagination is much more powerful than you usually acknowledge. As you decide to embark on this particular journey and process, you will also find the happiness and joy in your life increasing. That was your birthday message that came through on your birthday in 2012. And this is exactly what you've been doing.
Wow. Indeed, imagination is everything. Yes.
That's exactly what you've been doing. And that was the information they were sending me before this meeting, because they said, you don't even know what you've done, which is so fascinating because none of us do. And the contribution. So that's what was coming through earlier, which is kind of cool.
I don't know if you remember, but the last question I asked my guest on my podcast, and that's my favorite question to ask, and that is, what is the smallest thing you've done that has had the greatest, biggest, most profound positive impact on both your life and business? For me, Roger, it's been without hesitation starting the podcast, because that completely transformed my life, changed my life, not just financially, but also it really helped me find my voice. I used to be painfully shy. And in the process, I got to connect with you, with all these almost 300 incredible people. For me, podcasting was the vehicle that really helped me with my own spiritual awakening. It's been part of my ongoing education, talking with incredible people, true world-class experts, and learning about things that I thought I knew, but most importantly, learning about things I had no idea. For example, channeling, muscle tuning, Reiki. I had no idea that even existed.
Exactly.
And now I don't even know what that's going to lead me to. And that's what is most beautiful. It's just you just take that first step and that leap of faith, and the path unfolds in front of you.
That's that. Oh, this is crazy, because this is what
was it the same for you too when you started first?
No, this is what was coming through about you. This is the information, because I get sent information before it ever happens. So and that's what was happening. So it's like, oh yeah, Payman has done all these things. He made these moves. He didn't understand why he was doing it, but it came out to be, and he doesn't understand the contribution. And why you asked that question of your guest is because you have not yet understood the contribution that you've already made, and that's what was coming through.
Wow. I don't know if you can see it, goosebumps. Wow. All right, brother. That's powerful. So you said that you wanted to do a channeling for us. So tell us more about that.
Well, there's information that's going to come through, and then I'll begin with it, but then they want you to ask questions as well to see what else might come through.
Questions about what? About what's going on?
Anything.
About personal? About
anything. Absolutely
Can
anything.
you give me the winning numbers of the lottery just once?
Well, there was something I told my brother the
We'll share it. We'll share
no,
it, Roger.
no, they won't interfere like that. But it was just
I
so
know, I'm joking.
fascinating. But I told my brother the other day that, if you were betting on the NBA championship, I could have told you who won, who was going to win. But those things only happen occasionally because
Yeah,
that doesn't,
sure.
that, yeah,
All
it's
right.
because it's all energy. Yeah.
Ready when you are,
Um.
brother.
Okay.
Excited.
Hmm. We're so happy to be here. And thank you so much, Payman, for bringing our messenger to this place now, especially at the right time. You did it on the perfect day that was not accidental. You thought that Roger just happened to respond to you on a particular day. No, that was all set up. Like everything we give him is completely set up. And we're going to take you back a little bit because then we'll talk about you, because we're so pleased that you're doing this, because you're making such a contribution on the planet at this time by bringing guests on and having them put their information out so it goes to millions. You don't know that yet, but that's exactly what it will do at some point, because it will become evergreen, so to speak, with the information that you're bringing through, because it's so vital for your planet at this time as it's moving through the restructuring, as we've always said. Now, we're going to go back a little bit, because those of you who might go to our website, any advice for today, you can read these messages, and we want to alert you to something that's happened in your world just recently that many people might have missed. And we were having so much fun with this, because we said that Barbenheimer was not accidental. And yes, we are referring to your current entertainment. You had Barbie movie that came out, and then you had Oppenheimer, and they came out on the same weekend, and everyone's wondering, why is that happening? And why is this so important? And we gave you a message that day when it was released, because we wanted you to understand most of you are missing the points of both movies. The first movie we'll speak of is Barbie. See, because you're going through this evolutionary change, and you need to understand that the old way had to be really let go of, and no better way than to take you back to your childhood. When you're children, you remember more of your authentic selves, you remember more of your connection to God, you remember more of your essence at that time. So using Barbie was quite wonderful. However, you used it in a different way this time, because now you brought in all these different images to talk about inclusion, to talk about the racial identities that you each as humans come into the world to express, and they're all needed, but you haven't known that for so long. You have civilizations that have gone on forever where you just kind of denigrated certain people, certain races and genders. And this is why you're seeing what's happening now. There's a change that's happening. We've said it's a restructuring, and it's going to be a more inclusive world that you're all going to create. But you can only do that when you start acknowledging and understanding who you are and the gifts that you came to bring to the world. And this is why we have done this. And we even gave you a message today to say that now is the time for you to do it. Well, actually, we told you that you might be getting there. We said eventually you come to accept yourself, but this was the day we wanted you to understand it. And then tomorrow, we're giving you a message where we can go ahead of this because we know what we're going to do. And the message tomorrow is about decision. And we want each of you to make a decision about who you want to be. And we want it to be one that you love. We want to be the thing that you want to do in your life, because all of you have it, but sometimes you ignore that because you either think you can't do it, you don't have the ability, you don't have the skill, or the biggest one that you each have, it's not important enough. Everything that you do energetically that is about loving yourself is the most valuable, important thing that you could bring to this planet. And if we get enough people who are understanding that and bringing in that love and light into your world, you will see the shift of everything that's happening. Yes, what we did was we had Roger just listen to a video, a channeling session that we did on July 28th of 2022. See, he never remembers what comes through when those happening. So we had him listen to it again. And the first thing we said was, please stop burning down your planet. And see, now you're looking at your world today and you're seeing all the weather conditions going on, and you all have different ideas about what you believe is causing that. But we're telling you, as humans, you can cause anything because you have so much power. Now, you do use the energies of your universe to cause things to manifest, but you have abilities beyond that. You're not physical beings, you're spiritual entities that always exist. And when you come into the physical plane, you decide to do certain things. And those things will be, are they going to be for the betterment of all, the good of all, or are you going to just do it for yourself? And those are the issues that all of you are starting to come with now and to figure out. And we've given you information now that we're beginning now about relationships. relationships, because you're going to go through some challenging times with your relationships, and we want you to understand what's happening. They are just to cause you to love who you are. You always use all of your relationships to understand your authenticity, to understand who you are and what you came to bring to the world, because each of you have something, and it's something magnificent, and it's usually just hiding out within you until you have the ability, the courage, the gumption to do self-discovery, which is what we've been advising you to do. Now, we've talked about this often. We said we've given you an ascension guide because we wanted you all to understand all the crazy events that seem to you to be crazy that are moving in your world, but they're for a great reason if you understand it. You could pull together so much love that you would create this world, this utopia, as we gave you a message the other day, because that's where we've always been leading you, is to that place of utopia, and you can create it. There's no human that has more ability to create anything than another. But this is the part where you are now, where you're trying to figure that out. We've always told you there's no hierarchy of souls. And we want you all to understand that, because see, you make different decisions about yourselves. You're thinking someone has more ability, power than you. No, you've just been, as we've said before, brainwashed. And as you open up to understanding your gifts, you start to live this glorious life. And that's all that we have ever wanted for any of you. But it's been challenging to get many people to understand that, which is why we've told Roger, we've been yelling a lot. That's how it feels to him. But he's been the one who was held back the most, which is why we continually have him talk about it. So all of you can understand that, so you don't judge yourself. There's nothing that we want more than for you to love yourself, and judgment holds that back. So yes, you didn't see things before. Yes, you didn't do other things, or you made mistakes. You thought you made mistakes. You did not do that. You were learning things. You were developing new skills, new abilities, new awarenesses to bring into the world now. And as we've said, you thought that the age of Aquarius was made up. No, it's not. That's where you're moving. And the fifth dimension, yes, you're moving there as well. You've just been confused about how you might get there, and the way you get there is in your thoughts. It's how you choose to think about yourself and how you choose to think about others. You can only move into that fifth dimensional thinking when you let go of your judgments and all of the old things, because this is a generational change, as we've said before, meaning that you've brought in all the energies and ideologies and judgments and restrictions of your ancestors. They would like for you to let those go now, so that you can create a much better world that will be a sustainable one that you each will enjoy. And that is what we wanted to give to all of your guests, Payman. And if you had anything else that you would like to know, we will be happy to answer your question.
Wow, powerful messages. I'm speechless. I have to rewatch it again. One question that came to mind while you were talking: where are we heading as a race? Where is the planet heading? Are we heading towards a more positive direction?
That's up to you. That's up to you. See, we're saying the you, and we've done this before, we're using the collective you. Now, Payman, we must say this. We're going to begin with you, because you're already doing it, see? And you haven't understood this because you made a choice to start your podcast, as you've mentioned, which was something that's given you such joy, and you can see all the things that has opened up for you. But see, you didn't question it. You just said you had this urge, and you said, I don't know why, but I think I'm going to do this now. And then everything opened up. See, you didn't have the restrictions that so many have, and so you don't understand how valuable, well, you do to a certain degree, but your work has been so amazingly valuable, and this we are grateful for, see, because we have a vested interest in the world that we want to see, and you're bringing on people that are bringing information and awareness, as they've done for you, opening up your awareness to many things you didn't know, and that's what we want for all of you, because see, when you understand that you are these worthy beings, you stop killing each other. That's all. You start to understand. Now, this is a generational thing, and so you have civilizations that you come to understand that a little bit more. But this particular time in your world is a powerful shift that is happening, and it's happening for the purpose of creating a much better world. It's just going to look a little crazy for a while, and you're going to see destruction. And as we told you in 2012, yes, you will have conflict, and that's conflict always comes when you're trying to change something, but then the end result is unity. And you've done this over and over again throughout your civilizations. Now, we will say this time is a little different. And we've told Roger, we want you to do a little bit more, because we've always said the world that you want to see is not guaranteed. You see, and the guarantee comes when each of you decides to move through anything within you that's just not loving, that's judging yourself or judging others or putting in something that's just not helpful in terms of creating something more. What we've been guiding you to do is create. And Payman, this is why we talk about you, because you've been creating, and then you've been just void of all the other craziness that's been going on in the world. And that's so valuable, because what you've been doing is adding energy. Energy is what changes everything. And the energy of light and love that goes out, the more that happens, and it goes into the masses, because you're using this ability of the internet to do that. It's massive. That's why we said you don't understand what you've done, but we're so thrilled that you're doing it.
Thank you very much. I just want to add one thing.
Mhm.
One of the most powerful realization I've come across over the past few years has been that of listening to my gut feeling, to that voice inside my head, because that is your soul talking to you. And as I understand, the soul has two main purposes: one, to keep you alive, protect you, and keep you safe; and two, to guide you to your next phase of your journey. Again, starting a podcast came out of the blue, having lunch with family on a beautiful summer day. An idea came, come, start a podcast. What do you mean? And it kept on coming. Start a podcast. A year later, start an academy. What do you mean? And it kept on coming. So now what I really understood and that changed my life is, and this is the message I share with all of my guests, anyone that I talk to, listen to that voice. Listen to that voice. Don't suppress it, because that's your soul. And when you hear it, it's because that's the right time for you to hear it. And this is the one thing I'm always trying to let the people I talk to, whether in person or on my podcast, is to learn to get in touch with yourself. Listen to that voice. So, and that voice has completely changed my life, has brought me to where I am now. And
this is why we wanted to speak with you, because see,
Yeah.
you haven't understood the enormous thing that you did. And you're so much further ahead than so many other beings in their consciousness. See, because we had our guide here, our messenger, sit and write a song in 1987.
Wow.
Entitled, Payman, Listen to Your Heart. You'll always know the right way. We gave him all the words for that song, and it's just a wonderful song. We're really happy with it as well, but he didn't do that. He kept fighting it. He kept resisting. He kept moving through all that. You, on the other hand, decided, oh, here it is, and you listen. And see, this is the thing that we want you to appreciate, because you even saying that now will awaken so many to their withhold that they've been doing, and given them this greater permission to listen to that intuition, to listen to their heart and do what they want to do, which is feeling good. That's what we really want for all of you, is to have this pure joy in your life. But many of you have been stuck in old paradigms, in old places that you couldn't get out of, which is again why this restructuring is occurring in your world. And we just wanted you to appreciate the foresight that you had, Payman, and what you have done that has just been so valuable for so many.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. One question I want to ask is, are we ready? When will we be ready to connect with our brothers and sisters from other realms and other galaxies, other civilization?
That's already happened. And so some of you, and as we've told our messenger, you know, if that comes up for you, it's part of your particular path. It won't come up for many, but if that's coming up for you, please own it. Because see, you do have other existences and other galaxies and all that many of you don't know of. And sometimes it frightens you. And we just had our messenger see a report the other day, and many of you can look for this, because there was a person in the United States, in the government, who talked about this. They have a study, you see, that's studying these objects flying around that they can't explain. And they've had so many of them, and most of them they can kind of figure out, which is what you do as humans. You want to give explanations to everything in the physical world that you don't completely understand, which is fine. But then there's about 5%, they said, of all these things that have come about that they don't know what they were. They don't know what those things were. And we're saying those are little helpers that are coming about to give you more information, because other existences have far more communication and understanding and wisdom that you have on this plane. And we're just talking about the earth plane here, because there are different dimensions as you think of it. But as you come to understand that you're eternal spiritual beings, then you won't make the distinctions between all of that. But that's a long way off. But where you are moving now is inching toward the society where you're understanding that all things are okay, and all things give you value, because you need contrast to create something new. You can't create something new if you're still doing the same old thing. So new things must come into your experience for you to be able to create something new. So the same is happening for your world. But the other thing that happens, which we talk about so much, is that you resist because you're afraid of the unknown. We're not speaking to you, Payman. We're speaking to our
Sure, sure,
listeners and go,
yeah.
and so that's what comes up. You carry the fear of the unknown, and it keeps you stuck where you are individually and your planet.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. What can each and every single one of us do to get in touch with our higher self, to connect and communicate with our soul, with our guardian angels and all that, so that we can have a better understanding of what to do, not only to improve and to elevate what we are doing, so that together we can make ultimately this planet a better place.
If each of you were to do this, and this is what we've been guiding you to do, is to move through your lives and understand who you are. And the way that you do that is by letting go of your self-judgment. Now, so many of you said, well, I don't know what it is to love myself. I don't know what that experience is. And we say, if you were to use your mindfulness to become aware of every time you're saying something negative, every time you're judging yourself about something, you'll start to make your contribution. When you understand that everything is energy, everything in your world is created through energy. There's no separation in that. And so if you're doing your part, this is why we say it doesn't have to be that you're out there doing something big in the world. If you're doing something in your life that's causing you to become happy, that's causing you to feel joy, that's the greatest contribution you could make. However, for most of you, you have to move through the restrictions from before that have told you weren't enough, that you couldn't do it, you didn't have the ability, you didn't have all of that. You have to let go of that and start accepting the new. This is, again, why we're saying you're having a restructuring, but that can only occur through each of you. It's not one person who's doing it, but you each collectively doing that causes the shift. Now, this is why it's going to take a little while, because you can understand that most people will not understand that. Most people would never even hear what we're saying. And so it becomes a bit of a challenge. But you are making such an inroad to so many, and it'll become exponential, that the awareness will start to blossom. And we will tell you about another 18 months, you'll see so much more of it. We keep telling our messenger, we'll give it another year and you'll see the biggest changes. But we want you to understand it's not going to look that way for a while, because so many are little, you've stuck. We don't want you to beat yourselves up, but you've been programmed to believe that you can't do certain things. And that's a lower vibrational energy that has permeated your planet. And now you're attempting to change that, and it can only change through you.
Wow, beautiful. Speaking of that, there's a couple of things I've done that have also allowed me to feel happier. Number one, stop watching the news. I haven't watched news in 5 years. When people ask me what's going on, I have no idea. I don't want to know. And instead, I like to focus on things that I can control, that make me happy, things that make me grow. Like I love listening to podcasts, I love listening to powerful talks. I love listening to channeling session. Believe it or not, I've watched quite a few of yours. And things like that. And number two, I used to really enjoy playing in my mind scenarios of me having arguments with others and putting them in their place. And then those would, when those would materializing, they would never go the way I envisioned them. And so from now on, anytime a negative thought or a thought of arguing with someone or whatever, or I should say this, I don't even entertain that, allow it to even enter my mind. Say, no, stop. The person trying to reach is no longer available, wrong number, something like that, and I don't even allow those. And now I feel much better, much lighter, much more positive. And also, I haven't reached the point of being completely non-judgmental, but I'm getting there, because there's a lot of programming that needs to be unprogrammed, uninstalled, so to speak. But I believe I'm on the right path, and that makes me feel a lot happier, a lot more, compassionate, a lot more understanding, and all that.
You've said many wonderful things. We want to touch on one. You said you're less judgmental, and we want to tell you that was the best line you could have said, because we've had our messenger, we had him start writing about this in 2016, because we've been leading you all to this particular time in your world. And then we had him acknowledge, we had him write something that says, I might be slightly racist with misogynistic tendencies. And we wanted him to start speaking about it then, because you all have these old ideas implanted within you. Unless you decide to look at them and move through them, then you don't create the world or the lives that you want to have. And so then we had him do another one a little while ago where he said he was less racist now and less misogynistic, because we want you to understand it's a process. It's a process that your planet is moving through. All civilizations move through this, and you haven't got to the place where you're creating that oneness, which is where you're all moving to. But the first thing that you do is get rid of it within yourselves to become willing to move through it. And we had him it hasn't been released, but we're going to have him keep talking about it, because we want you all to understand. And sometimes it's a little shocking, but we said most people do not know that they might be racist. You see, because if you think about societies that have existed forever, you all come from different, kind of races and ideologies and ethnic groups and all of that. And over time, they've been controlled. They've been controlled by certain people in power at the time. And then you've carried that belief forward, you see? And so then people can't feel free. They don't feel empowered because they're still carrying around old energies that they don't even know exist within them. And they don't uncover that unless they're willing to do self-discovery. All of our work has been about self-discovery. We never tell anyone what you should do, because we know that what is within you is brilliant and it's wonderful. And if you could find that, then you would offer what you came to the world to do, because each of you has something that you're meant to bring into the world, and it's meant to happen now, which is why we're so adamant about more of you awakening to the love that's within you. And so, Payman, you're doing a great job by just describing the process, because you said less, and because some people think, I want to be there now. You're probably not going to do that. It is a continual process that you do each day, which is why our work, we have you do something every day, because we want you to understand you're using your human mind, your neuroscience, to change things, to change patterns in your brains. And that's how you create the lives that you want to have.
Absolutely. Yes, it's a pattern. It's a process. Number one was stop listening to negativity from the news. Number two, stop allowing negative thoughts entering your mind. And number three, and as a result of that, it opens my heart more and more. So it's a beautiful process. The way you put it was beautiful. Yes.
You each will do something. We want to speak about that, because in this particular period, there are many of you who are finding we love what you're doing, because this is what we wanted to speak about, because we know that you made this decision not to see what was going on in the world. And that was perfect for you, because that gave you the ability to bring in a different level of energy and light and love and all of that, because that's a part of your particular life plan. There are others, or divine plan, we should say, because you each have that. And there are others who feel this activism, and then it's being activated right now. So they are watching the news, and our messenger, he will watch things like that, because then it gives him a little more awareness of what we've given him, and he can put them together. Because when he watches the news and he sees something terrible, it pushes him to do a little bit more. That's what happens. So people will use it differently. He says, oh, wait a minute, bad things are happening. I have to love more now. I have to be more present. I have to just show a little bit more. So some will go in that way. Now, we will say that many of you are going to have a lot of anger right now, though. And this is why we're talking about relationships. The anger comes up because you can't change certain things that you're seeing in your world or in your experience, and that's where you've been stuck. But we will tell you that you can change it if you decide to work with your consciousness. It's all about your mindset and your consciousness and coming to a higher level of awareness. And it takes time. So it's going to be different for each person. And that path that each person is following is also generational. So if you've come from a family that's had this long history of being denigrated and all of these things, then yes, it might take you a little more time to work through that, but you can do it. And that's what we wanted to impress with everyone.
Yeah, beautiful. You know, I follow what's going on in the world, but I don't want to do anything with all the negativity. I want to know what are the good things happening in the world. I want to focus on the good. All the negativity, for me, I completely refuse to take part in those. Like, for example, all this nonsense since 2 years in COVID. People ask me, is that affect you? What do you mean? That doesn't exist in my reality. I decide not to take part of it, you know? So we're not going to get into the politics of that, but I just
We will.
focusing.
We won't speak about that. See, because many of you have had different ideas about why
Yes.
you're COVID, and
Yeah.
we've been speaking about
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Many of you thought, oh, this is going to divide us. This is going to. We're said no. That's not what was going on. You brought these things that said you've had viruses before since the beginning of time. You've had things that as humans evolve, they will go through and contract different things, and then you will use different medicines or vaccines or whatever to have those things, and then certain things. If you've had diseases that you've gotten rid of, but then there are other people come about who have this other ability to understand what is within them and transcend all of that. But it's going to be
Gotcha.
different for each person. So what you have to make is this decision individually. What is going to be the best for me, and how is that going to impact the greater good of all? And when you start thinking about that, you will understand. So making a choice to not do any of those things is wonderful. And if you can bring more people to that higher state of awareness to let them know that they can do the same thing, that's beautiful. So, but we just want all of you to take away the judgment that you've had on one another about the choices that you've been making. And when you release the judgment and find out what's right and correct for you, you're putting love into the world. So we thank you for that.
Beautiful. Thank you. You know, yes, COVID has been horrible, has affected a lot of people, but I believe, and one of the things that I understood over the past few years of my awakening is that there's always a gift, there's always a blessing in everything.
Yes.
It doesn't happen to you, but it happens for you. The previous version of me, when something bad happened to me, I used to ask the wrong question, like, why me? What did I do to deserve this? Why? But that doesn't help you at all. Instead, I've been asking a more powerful question, empowering question, that is, what is this trying to teach me? What is the lesson for me to learn to this? And COVID, as an entire race, civilization, as a human race, we actually need it. It's been a blessing in disguise. It brought all of us together. It allowed us to really focus on what really matters. Hey, do I really need to kill myself 80, 90 hours a week to get a bigger house, bigger car, the latest iPhone? No. I need to spend more time with family, to follow my heart. And this is why a lot of people are quitting their job. I'm sure you heard of the what is it? The notion of the quiet quitting. People just doing barely the minimum.
Yes.
Because they awaken to what truly matters, relationships, people. And as a human race, we needed that. That was the wake-up call that we all needed. So when I look at things, this is what I mean, focusing on the positive and things. Even in negativity, there's a beautiful lesson, a gift. I've talked about that extensively, some of the personal thing happened to me. But again, there's always something positive. Ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? What is the lesson for me to learn to this through anything, through hardships, challenges, heartbreak, tragedy? Always ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Because it happens to you for you, and it happens at the right time because you're ready for it. God never gives you anything you're not able to overcome. So always ask, what is this trying to teach me? And what is the lesson for me to learn to that?
We've given you something else too, because many of you feel, and we're so glad that you were able to say all of that, because many of your listeners will understand that from that standpoint. And we'll give you another one. We said you're not being punished. We want all of you to understand, because many of you have gone through some, especially in the last several years, or many of you most of your lives, where you've gone through some really challenging things, and you think, am I being punished? Is this ever going to end? And many people are experiencing that right now. However, we're saying, no, you are not. You have an agreement when you come onto the earth plane that you will move through certain things. You will have certain experiences, and it's hard for you to accept this, but you agree to these things. You accept them when you come onto the physical plane, because you know on a deep level that if you move through your particular difficulties, which look that way to you at some point, but if you move through them, then you've erased that from the collective consciousness. You see, there's a collective consciousness that you all have, and you contribute to it. You contribute to it with your energy and your individual life paths. We gave you a message. We're talking in general. We gave all of you a message in 2012 where we said, if more of you could understand this, your world would start to transcend, and this restructuring, as we've spoken of, would be really, really successful. And the message said that we called it your story. And we said your story is unique and valuable. It is unique, is valuable because no other soul shares precisely your story. And every person has that. So what you came in to offer is within you. Now, the other thing we said in that message, if you attempt to judge, ignore, or just think that your story wasn't important, then you're going to have difficulty. And we say that because most of you have gone through those experiences, you've overcome them, but then you don't own them because you still have the shame and embarrassment of what you've experienced. And we're trying to move more of you to a different understanding. This is an energetic shift again, where you can look at those things and say, wow, look at what I've done now. I moved through that. And now somebody else who comes later, because you are all teaching the next generation through your actions. So now someone else who comes later does not have to have that difficult experience because I've understood it and I've transcended it, and I can give them that information. This is how evolution works, which is why we've given you so many messages over the last several of this last week about evolution, because we wanted more of you to understand you are in this dramatic evolutionary process, which you always are. But this particular period, none of you have experienced, so it's a bigger, let's say, but it's a greatest opportunity that you've ever had in your lives.
Absolutely, absolutely. Beautiful, beautiful. That's exactly what I've always been saying on the podcast, is that we all go through a fair share of, hard times, challenges, tragedy, whatever. But then that becomes our story. Then your story becomes your gift. Your gift becomes your duty and responsibility to share it with the world. One of my most profound understanding is that, yes, life is a school. We come here to learn lessons to become better. But that's only 5% of the reason. The 95% are taking those gifts, those wisdoms, those lessons, and share it with others to whatever means is more comfortable for you. For me, for example, it's talking on my podcast, my books. For you, it's to channeling. For someone else, maybe through music, to painting, to dancing, to whatever it is, pottery, whatever it is. Find your outlet, your vehicle, and share your gift, because you've been blessed with a gift. No matter who you are, you have a gift, and you're here to share that gift.
We have used that term so much, Payman. We thank you for bringing it up again, because you're a perfect demonstration of this, because everyone has that, but sometimes they will judge it. They don't think it's important. It doesn't mean something. And then you don't, and then you hold back. But what you did is decide to go with that, and then it turned into money. It turned into abundance for you. This is the step that most people are afraid to take because they're holding back. And we've been speaking of this often now, because this change in your world is a financial change as well, meaning that we want more of you who are of light and love to become more abundant, but you can only do that when you accept it into your consciousness, because it's all energy again. It's the abundance of whatever it is that you want in your life. It's all energy, but you have to open yourself to it. But many of you have been beaten down because you're carrying around the old restrictions that you haven't let go of. So we were so pleased, Payman, that you're being a demonstration, a walking demonstration of what others can accomplish. So thank you for that.
Thank you indeed. It's, for me, the two greatest reasons I do business is, number one, the transformation and impact I help achieve in the lives of the people I work with. And number two, the wonderful and beautiful friendships and relationships I develop in the process. The money is icing on the cake. The money is not the cake. When you focus on impact, transformation, and building lasting friendships, then the money, I swear to you, Roger, the money magically, automatically manifests itself in ways that you didn't even know. Like, people out of the blue contact you, hey, can you help me? Or whatever. This is exactly what I'm looking for. So again, focus on doing good. Focus on helping others, on following your heart. Focus on what sets your heart on fire, and your soul brings your soul to life, because ultimately that's what you're here for. That's your passion. Follow that gut feeling. Follow that instinct, that voice in your head. Don't suppress it. Society tells us to, suppress that voice and listen to reason, listen to logic. Sure, there's a place for logic and reason, but ultimately the heart is where it's at.
We love that you could give everyone that explanation. It's wonderful, but we will also say that Payman has been on this path, so he's experienced this. The rest of you may be doubting that is possible, and you will doubt that until you decide to do it. And so we want you to understand that it's a process, because we don't want some of you who have not been able to take the steps that Payman has done to regret, to feel bad, or to judge yourselves. That's a lower vibrational energy, so we don't want you to have that one. We just want you to understand that it is a process. And what we've been doing over the last several times, more than a year now, in our messages, is giving you messages from 10 years ago or 12 or 13 to show you the connection. We do it on certain dates so you can see that it's a process of evolving in your consciousness. And because you have to use linear time and when you're in physical form to make sense of these things, we wanted to give you a demonstration that it just moves that way. So we don't want you to judge yourself if you haven't reached this place of understanding yet, because that is putting a different energy in. We just want you to start having fun. That's all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is so powerful because ultimately, yes, it takes time, it takes effort. Sometimes you wonder, why should I keep doing it? For me, when I started my podcast for the first year, I didn't make a penny and I had no idea how to monetize it. And then once I reached my 100th episode, that's when magic happened. That's when people started reaching out to me. Again, yes, you have to be patient, but nothing worthwhile comes easy. You have to work for it. You have to keep believing it, believe in yourself, believe in your heart that what you're doing is for the good. And as long as you set your intentions to the good, the right people, the right circumstances, the right knowledge will magically manifest into your life. So this is my takeaway. This is my lesson from my own personal experience and experience of the people I've known, I've worked with, I coached. So yes, keep at it. Don't give up. Follow your heart and you will get there in due time.
We have nothing else, Payman. You've just done it. You've given them what we would have said, and the only thing we will add, because we're going to leave you with this, because we'll be bringing in more information, especially this week, and then we're going to do a channeling session on August 1st. We want all of you to pay attention to that time, your full moon. But you have just given us the perfect out, shall we say, because you demonstrated exactly what we've been wanting for more, is to express the understanding and wisdom that you've gained and give it to others, because again, that is how evolution works, and we can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you,
We're
Willem.
complete.
It's been an absolute honor with a massive, letters. Listen, it's an honor, and you know what, Roger, this is just the start. We'll be doing a lot more of those. And welcome back to life, brother. No time. Yeah.
It's always so funny because it's like I get set part of it. I don't know all of it, so I'll have to listen to it to see everything that came through.
Yes,
but it felt pretty good. So
beautiful. One thing I like doing is when I get to those calls, I don't go with any preparation because I want to keep it clean, natural, organic.
Right.
But the next session I want to do with you, if you're open to it, I will actually prepare and have some proper questions.
Oh, yeah, no, that's great. I love that.
The right questions to ask, because this is what I do. I go without any, because I don't have any preconceived ideas. I just wanted to flow naturally.
Yes.
Whatever is meant to happen, whatever meant to.
Thank you.
So it's, yeah.
That's the best way. Whenever I can never do anything where it's planned or scripted, I can't do it. So yes, thank you for that. Yes, that would be great. We'll definitely do that.
And this is what I teach my students. Never speak from a script. Don't even speak from here. Always speak from here, because that's where the magic is.
I will tell you one thing. I was, when I was in my other business, and I had a partner, and we had to do these sales things and all that, and he would always write these scripts, and I had to sit there and read them and go over them. And it's just I said, I can't do this. It's not authentic. It's not me. And then I listen to those things now, because they were videos, and I listen to them now and I cringe and go, why did I ever allow myself to do that? So thank you for saying that. That's good.
Absolutely. Listen, Roger, me and you, we'd talk for hours, but let's wrap it up. And
thank you, sir. This was wonderful.
Thank you for your time. Absolute honor. And we'll definitely be talking soon again. So listen, I salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world with your presence, with your impact, with your voice, with your channeling, with your smile, with everything you do, brother. You're a gift. And keep sharing your gift to the world. Keep shining your light. God bless you. Talk to you very soon, brother. Take care.
Thank you so much, Payman.
Pleasure on mine.